Basically, my ego was way louder than my instinct. That moment, it was like the universe just hit pause. No one running to me, just like the sound of the wind and the sound of the waves crashing, and it just was all felt like an eternity. People aren't who they say they are. It's a built-in internal compass. This isn't just a story about skydiving. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Untempered. I'm your host, Nyla, and this podcast has always been about raw, unfiltered truths that are behind all the highlight reels that you see on Instagram and on social media. Today's episode, I believe, will change your life because in the past week, my life has changed. I'm sharing a story of a moment where everything broke for me, literally. One decision, one ignored gut feeling, one accident, and this all forced me to confront some of the lies that I've been telling myself my whole life. You guys, I broke my back last week on a skydive, and I fractured my L4, L5, and basically broke and displaced my tailbone. I have been in so much pain, and I think what really shattered for me was not just that, but also my identity, the identity that I've been clinging onto for years. This isn't just a story about skydiving. Let me tell you that. This is about purpose, it's about ego, it's about intuition, and it's about the quiet ways that we betray ourselves in our lives and the way we try to fit in on the expense of our own purpose. If you've ever felt like you're performing a version of yourself, if you've ever pushed yourself past those inner voice that just to try to belong, then this episode is going to be your mirror. This has been such an insane turning point for me, so let me tell you about the story of what happened. First, let me set the scene. I got invited to a skydiving event. Actually, for a skydiver, this is what I would say is a dream event. It's just basically where a bunch of skydivers get together and jump over a beautiful, beautiful location. This was over the beaches of Diani, which is in Kenya. Now, if you've never been, Diani is stunning. It's like crystal clear, blue, stunning Indian Ocean water that you've never seen, like you've never seen before. It's so beautiful. And it's just kind of like postcard perfect. As the trip got closer and closer, my gut felt like something was off. Why? Well, to be honest with you, I am not a confident swimmer. I'm actually scared of the water. Like, I'm not really one to go into, like, throw me out into the deep blue sea and I'll be able to swim, survive, and enjoy. You know, I'm just not a confident, strong swimmer. So deep down, I had my underlying anxieties, but I told myself so many things, one of which was, you've worked so hard for this. I've worked so hard for this. I've been jumping for 9 years now. And I kept telling myself, don't back out. Don't back out now. Any skydiver, or even just people in general, would have this on their bucket list. And I kept telling myself, you'll regret not going. You will not want to miss this chance. I'm going to be completely upfront with you. I didn't just say yes because it was just out of desire. I was saying yes out of fear. Fear of what? Fear of missing out. Fear of looking weak. Fear of being left out. So the jump itself was beautiful. I mean, I looked down, and after exiting the plane, I just had this like split second where it was like a godlike feeling where you just think, wow, the world is so beautiful. And the ocean looked like a giant mirror. Like the water was sparkling like glitter. It was just so calm and so beautiful. When we were actually in the jump, I couldn't help but notice how far out we were because I looked down and all I could see was just the water, when usually I see sand dunes or I see land. And I just had that feeling that a bit like, whoa, this is different. This is new. And that feeling was just kind of like there from the entire jump. And then I opened my parachute. And the moment I opened my parachute, I just knew something was off. I was like, not just far, but I was like far, far. I was too far away, miles and miles from the landing area. And under me, I literally could only see ocean. So I checked my altitude and I was just over 3,000 feet. And that's just when it hit me. Like I had an icy, aching feeling. And I was like, whoa, oh my God, there's only water under me right now. If you've ever been truly afraid, you'll know that fear doesn't come on its own. Fear always comes with other things like self-doubt and panic. So my thoughts started to become like a blur of calculations and catastrophes and preempted scenarios. Every decision that I was thinking of making, it was like my mind was negating it only seconds later. So I was like, should I do this? I'm going to do this. Oh, wait, that's not going to work. And it was like a constant battle in my head. I missed a very brutal and very important detail. From above, it just looked like patches of soft sand that was just shallow, but it wasn't. It was jagged coral reef. So then it happened. I lifted my legs up, and at the moment of landing, I thought that I was trying to protect my legs. I do that. We slide as skydivers do some landings on their butt where you slide on your butt, but you're not really supposed to pick up your feet that much. But I was just thinking, okay, I'm just going to slide on the sand and protect my legs. But forgetting that the part that would hit first would be much, much worse. So it was my tailbone that took all of the impact first, straight into the reef. And then the rest of my body kind of slammed down like a rag doll. And like, I just felt like I just dropped from the sky. I heard it before I felt it. It was just like a sharp internal crack, and my lower back had fractured. And I felt it. And for a second, like the whole world felt super silent, and I couldn't get up. And I kind of tried to listen out, and like no voices around me. I didn't hear anybody rushing, with like no footsteps, no one running to me, just like the sound of the wind and the sound of the waves crashing. And it just was all felt like an eternity. Time was just completely slowed down. And pain hadn't really arrived yet. I could feel the crack. I hadn't really started feeling the pain, but I knew there was going to be a lot of pain. It was just terrifying. And I just knew something was very, very wrong. I've never felt a crack like that before. I've never felt my body, like I've never hit anything and gotten injured like this before. So I tried to move, but my body wasn't really like wanting to move at first. And I couldn't really catch my breath. Like the wind was completely knocked out of me. And I felt like me was trapped inside this body that just couldn't move. Like I was trapped inside myself. I was alert, I was awake, and I was just completely broken. The reef beneath me was so rough. I know that I was bleeding. Like the salt water was going into my cuts and abrasions, which I knew I had because I felt it. And it was just stinging so much. And I looked up, hoping to see someone rushing towards me. You know, you're just thinking, oh my God, is anybody there? Anything like, but there was no one. Not right away, but there was nobody at that moment. And I could actually like see skydivers landing on the beach, like far off down, and then they were like high-fiving each other and laughing and hugging and celebrating. And I was like lying there motionless. I felt so invisible, and I was like waiting for someone to notice that I couldn't actually stand. And at that moment, I just thought I might not ever stand again. Eventually, a few people came over. Their faces were like blank. They looked confused and concerned, but then also like detached. I didn't feel any panic or urgency. There was just like this slow, awkward realization that something had gone wrong. And I had a sudden realization that was huge at that moment. Like I realized that in a sport that feels like family, I felt like people are still strangers playing their own game. And that was really hard for me to digest. I honestly can't believe this happened to me. I remember thinking that, and maybe I even said it out loud, I don't remember, but I was just like lying on the ground and like unable to move and not knowing if I'm ever going to walk again. And I just kept saying, I can't believe that this happened to me. But the truth is, I could believe it, because somewhere deep down inside, leading up to this trip, I had a gut feeling. I knew something was off. I didn't sleep well the night before getting to Kenya, and I usually sleep really well. So I feel like I even knew before I even got on the plane. I just had an icy, aching lump this whole time, and it was like here in my chest. But that quiet, uncomfortable whisper in my body saying, hey, something is not right, I totally ignored it. And I overrode my intuition. I don't know why. I think I was just trying to prove something to myself. I was trying to hold on to a persona, like I am an athlete, I'm an extreme skydiver. I represent women who in extreme sports, or women who follow their passions, and I have this persona to maintain. So I couldn't listen to my intuition. Little did I know that that crack that I did feel would soon actually resemble not just that moment in that skydive, in that accident, it just would soon resemble everything that I even thought I would know about my identity, my purpose, and trust and self-worth. Because if you've ever pushed down your gut feeling in order to fit in, especially, please hear this. You are not alone. The cost of ignoring my intuition, well, it cost a lot. It's so much higher than I thought it would ever be. And I think it's something that is the message here. If you think that you can ignore your intuition, I promise you that the price is very high to pay. Let's rewind a little bit. I want to tell you the story about why I started skydiving in the beginning. I didn't start skydiving just for the thrill, okay? Yes, I love the freedom of the sky, but the real honest, true reason, I wanted to escape fear. I wanted to be brave. I wanted to belong. Like, I grew up moving around so much, and it made friendships so hard. It made me feel like I was always starting over, always starting a new chapter, and just constantly trying to find my place. And then I found this skydiving community, and it looked like this wild, tight-knit tribe where everyone supported each other. They chased adrenaline together, lived big together. And I thought, maybe this is exactly where I need to be seen. And maybe this is actually where I need to be to finally feel like I matter. When I started, I gave it my everything. Okay. I did every jump. I did every event, every meetup, every dinner, every party. I idolized the people that were in the sport, and I tried to do everything by keeping up. If they were doing 200 or 300 jumps, I wanted to do 301 jumps. If they were going to Diani, I needed to be there. And I thought if I wasn't there, like, I wouldn't be respected in the sport, and if I wasn't fully in it. So I thought I would just basically be forgotten. I had to insert myself into every situation to feel like I was completely part of that community. But when you start doing things like this to stay relevant, that's when you start to betray yourself and abandon the real parts of you. This is what I know now. So going back to the accident, I made a few pretty crucial mistakes. I tried to land too close when I should have just turned around and landed in the closest part of land that I could reach. I pushed my canopy harder than I should. I didn't ask any questions about the landings prior, and I didn't study anybody else's footage. And I didn't speak up about the concerns that I already had when I arrived to the drop zone. Like, I had a few concerns about things and didn't ask questions in the briefing. I just didn't want to look weak. I didn't want to look like I had no clue. But why? Why is it that I didn't want to look weak? Why is it that I felt that I would look weak if I asked questions? Because I just kept thinking, I don't want to seem inexperienced to everyone. And I don't want to seem that if I need help, I'm going to look like I don't know what I'm doing. Basically, my ego was way louder than my instinct. And that's dangerous. That moment, it was like the universe just hit pause. Like, I felt pain, shock, confusion, a little bit of embarrassment. And you know what? What's worse than the physical pain is the realization that some of the people that actually were on that trip that I thought were my close friends, that I thought were my good friends, didn't even show up for me. It was like I became invisible the second I was like no longer useful or no longer part of the group and no longer jumping. That hurt so much. It hit me so hard. It broke something even deeper in me. It broke an illusion. I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that I was... A week earlier, I was going to the tunnel, I was jumping out of planes, I was training, I was stretching, I was feeling super strong, I was going to Pilates, and I was running after Callie and riding a bike with her, and I felt like I was invincible. And now I'm sitting here on a special cushion. I'm due to have a procedure next week, and I can't even go to the bathroom without help. And right now I have a choice. Feel sorry for myself or start to face my truths, my deep truths. Maybe this was a way that I subconsciously manifested some kind of stillness. I mean, right now I look at the daily agenda that I've had before all of this happens, and I just can't actually believe what I'm seeing. Like, it's put some things into perspective. I'm looking and I'm seeing my schedule and I'm thinking, oh my God, who does this? I had been totally and ruthlessly just burning myself out and burying myself in work, activities, fitness training, and managing my home and balancing it all with motherhood and being a single mom as well. So I've been running from like task to task to task, like a person in some kind of like unplanned marathon, as if I was invincible and destructible. You know what dawned on me? I think I'd actually been running from my own healing. That was a really big truth to actually face. I think I had been running from my own healing, yes. I had been distracting myself in every way possible from my shadow work without even realizing it. I say this now because now that I have to be still, I am feeling feelings that I should have been feeling a long time ago, that I should have sat with, that I should have really given time for, instead of just trying to be consistently busy and consistently chasing dopamine highs and trying to do the next best thing. I'm trying to understand now, what was I trying to prove? What, that I was worthy if I got all these things? I was trying to validate some kind of my ego. Most painfully of all, guys, I had in some way put this sport, I hate to say it, but I put it before my daughter because I convinced myself that this is me being her hero, that me being her hero meant being a super mom and meant never giving up. But the truth is, being her hero means being alive. It means being present. It means being wise enough to walk away when something just doesn't feel right. That broke me. I realized 1 millimeter to one direction, if I had fallen in the wrong direction that day, I could have been paralyzed. My daughter wouldn't have had a chance to see her hero. She would have lost her mom, all because I didn't listen to my gut. Here are some really hard questions I'm asking myself, and I'm gonna ask you as well. Are you truly listening to your intuition? Are you silencing it for the sake of fitting in? Are you living a life of purpose, or are you curating a persona and chasing achievements to validate your existence and compare yourself to others? I was doing the latter, and it almost cost me everything. I mean, I'm literally shocked that this was just this race I was running and running and running to try to achieve what? And thinking that I was kind of portraying this superhero version of me when truly I was putting way too much on my plate. You might not be jumping out of planes, but this actually really does make sense, even for you. You might be saying yes to things that just don't feel right. And you might be showing up for people who just don't show up for you. You might be chasing goals that are actually just distractions from the real true work that your soul really has to do and wants to do. We need to sit in our feelings, we need to sit in our stillness, and we need to be completely and utterly alone with ourselves. If you see yourself booking too many things and trying to constantly be busy. So ask yourself, am I doing this because I love it, or am I doing this because I'm afraid of what happens if I stop? Or am I honoring my truth? Or am I just curating a persona? Am I showing up for myself the way I show up for others? This is extremely important about gut instinct. It's not just a feeling, okay? It's a built-in internal compass. It's your body's way of speaking truth before your brain even tries to rationalize it. When your stomach tightens, when your chest gets heavy, when you can't shake that feeling that something is just off, that's not anxiety. That's your inner knowing. Honoring that feeling is actually the highest form of self-respect and self-love. It's the universe's way of actually nudging you towards alignment before it has to knock you over and get your attention by making you immobile. It could have been so much worse. Every time I've ignored my gut, actually, you guys, honestly, I've paid the price. I look back now and I can see it. I can see a pattern. And every time I've honored it, things would work out even though it didn't make sense at the time. It would just lead me to something better. So trusting your gut instinct isn't weakness, it's wisdom. So I have a couple final messages for you. If this story hits something inside you, don't ignore that, okay? It might be your own wake-up call and you might not know it. Trust your intuition, value your body. Don't mistake noise for connection. And please, I say this to myself too, don't let the fear of being left out or fear of missing out make you leave yourself behind. You don't have to earn your worth by pushing past your own limits, especially when it comes to the point of pushing past your gut instinct. You don't have to say yes to everything in order to be respected. You just have to be real. You just have to be real with yourself and with your people and with your purpose. I even started to look at my relationships differently, my friendships, my inner circle, and the people that I called my friends. And I have these massive lessons. One, people aren't who they say they are. They're who they show you they are when you're no longer useful to them. And stop giving people loyalty just because you like the version of them that you created in your head. And you know what? No one owes you the image that you created of them. That is an illusion. And that was your fantasy, not their responsibility. So watch what they do when you fall. And that's who they truly are. So believe them. And stop calling people your friends before they've shown up for your darkest hour. That's not friendship. That's just your wishful thinking. And if this episode made you feel something, share it. Because maybe the person that you send it to is on the edge of a decision that could actually change everything for them. Thank you so much for listening. And I'm Nyla. And I always come here with the stories of things that are really hard to share. So if you support the show, it would mean a lot to me. I'm going to see you next week. And until then, stay grounded, stay true, and never ignore that voice inside of you.